What's going on? Well, right now they're actively working 4 different crime scenes. And we're going to listen to what they have to say here as Joseph Lombardo from from the Las Vegas Metro Police Department gets to speak.
We are not done processing that scene yet, and once we are done processing the scene, we will make arrangements for people that attended the stadium that believe they have personal items there to respond to the area, and we will help you retrieve your items. At this point, I want to bring Greg Castle forward from the County Fire Department, and he will give you an update on the Family Resource Center. Prior to that, I think it's important and I appreciate for you to put this out, for the people's families that are responding to the Las Vegas area. Some local proprietaries have offered up rooms for the family members at no charge, and that is the Boyd Group, Stations Casinos, the South Point with Mr. Gone, and also Seagull Suites. So one more time, the Boyd Group, Stations Casinos, the South Point with Mr. Gone, and the Seagull Suites. So individuals responding to the Las Vegas area in need of accommodations, those individual properties will accommodate you.
So if you're from Las Vegas, they will accommodate you. You get to hear it live.
My name is Greg Castle, Fire Chief of the Clark County Fire Department. And as the Sheriff said, there's a couple things I want to mention. The first off is the Family Assistance Center. The Family Assistance Center is set up right now. It's a combination of police department, fire department, the coroner's office, and other local entities working together to provide the services for the families and for the that are coming into town or that are still here trying to handle what has happened with their loved ones. They're providing all kinds of services. As the Sheriff said, many places have stepped up to provide flights, housing, food, transportation, and many other things. So that's a wonderful thing for our community to have come forward and have done. This facility is located in the South Hall of the Convention Center, S2, and it's pretty much taking up the entire South Hall. There's also a donation drop-off area that's been set up to facilitate people wanting to drop off non-perishable goods over there at that site, water and so forth. The entrance to that is off of Sierra Vista, right just west of this Convention Center Area Command Metro building at Joe W. Brown and Sierra Vista. So I'd like to take an opportunity right now to thank the men and women of the fire departments, the Clark County Fire Department, obviously very near and dear to my heart, Las Vegas Fire and Rescue, Henderson Fire Department, and North Las Vegas Fire Department, as we were all teamed up there last night doing what we've trained for so many years. We wish would never happen, but we definitely had a plan in place, and we were able to execute that plan as well as we possibly could. We had 108 firefighters on scene.
This is live from Las Vegas.
55 unit hours just for the Clark County Fire Department alone spent last night handling that scene, teaming up with our partners from the law enforcement to reach as many people as fast as we could and to try to do as much as we could for the community. I also want to take a moment to recognize Community Ambulance. They were there.
Yeah, we need to pray for everybody. Pray for ourselves.
They had 5 or 6 ambulances there. They immediately threw critically wounded patients into their ambulances and transported from that scene. And also American Medical Response, AMR, and Medic West Ambulance. They brought all hands on deck. They brought in all of their employees. They rallied everything they could, from pickup trucks to vans to all their available ambulances, to bring extra medical supplies down to a staging area for us and to make those resources available to our community during that time of need. So I want to give a big shout out to those private ambulance companies that have done a wonderful thing for us last night as responders. And from the fire department side, I'll take a few questions.
Are you able to say how many ambulances?
I could not quantify that, but I have worked here for 30 years and I have never seen that many ambulances that I saw last night.
Tens, dozens, hundreds?
Dozens and dozens.
You said 108 firefighters. Is that 108 Clark County firefighters?
That's 108 firefighters combined from those resources I mentioned, those 4 fire departments.
What types of injuries were there to the people transported to the hospital? Was it mostly gunshot wounds?
There's a wide range of injuries, from gunshots to shrapnel wounds to trample injuries to people jumping fences trying to egress and getting hurt one way or another. So it was a wide range of those types of injuries.
Chief, will you explain me or comment or tell us what the staging process is? There was someone who said it took a long time for people trying to get into the venue. for rescuers trying to get into the venue?
Well, we had multiple branches and divisions set up last night to cover that large area.
Lex, I'm
And,
here.
I can't speak to how long it took them to get into that venue, but we had some.
I'm
we had
going to
some issues
Hooters in a
around
couple of hours.
right out of the start because things were going on. We didn't know where.
I'm
the
gonna be
gun
on the
was. We weren't sure
Casino
how to
for
safely
Life
commit our
page.
people at that time, and that's some of our policies and procedures are to try and make our people as safe as possible. We know they're going to go into a dangerous situation. That's why we do it in a format with called a rescue task force with the police departments. 4 of our personnel, 3 to 4 police officers going into harm's way, which is something that even 10 years ago in this valley would have never taken place because we had never trained on it. We had never planned on it.
Were any firefighters or paramedics injured? Were ambulances injured?
We had no on-duty injuries of any of our emergency response personnel last night.
Did you have any off-duty injuries?
From my fire department, no.
Greg, can we give John Hubenberg
Sure.
a chance to
John.
provide the notification of the families?
Okay. Hey, John.
Thank you, Greg, and thank you, Sheriff. Again, my name's Sean Fudenberg. I'm the coroner of Clark County, and I'd like to first of all just ask that everybody keeps those involved in this incident in their thoughts and prayers, and as well as the first responders, all government agencies, all of us that have come together and working on this incident. Please keep us in your thoughts and prayers, and know that we're working very hard to make sure that we take care of the families who have loved ones involved in this incident. I'd like to take a moment and talk a little bit more about the Family Assistance Center. As Chief Castle mentioned, we have that set up at the convention center. We're fully operational right there, right now, excuse me, and we've met with multiple families. We're continuing to interview the families, and the goal of that center is to provide families information about the identification of their loved ones.
You better make sure you're
And
available,
to
Lex.
collect information from them so we can.
Because when I'm up
make the
there, I'm gonna be like, "Where you at,
identifications as
Lex?"
fast as possible. So we're working very hard at making those identifications out of respect for the family. I'd rather not go into any details about the decedents or their injuries at this point. I'm available to answer any questions that anybody may have. Yes, sir.
Is the Clark County Coroner's Office equipped to handle these many bodies, or has there been an issue with that?
Well, I would like to say we're about as equipped as anybody in the country. I don't know that anybody can be fully equipped to handle this, but we've gotten support through grant money in our county commission through the years. We've trained and we've exercised, and we're putting that training and exercising in place right now. And I think our staff, along with the police departments and fire departments, are doing a heck of a good job in handling this, all things considered.
Have all the fatalities been removed from the
Yes, sir,
scene?
Ken, go
I
ahead.
have to ask, do you have enough space at the coroner's office for 59 bodies?
We do have enough space right now, yes.
Have
Sir?
all of the
Go
fatalities
ahead.
been removed from the actual shooting scene itself?
As of right now, all of the confirmed fatalities have been recovered, and they have been transported to our office, yes.
Of the 59 deceased, does that include the shooter or not?
I believe that includes the shooter, but again, that number could be fluid. So, that number unfortunately may go up, and I don't want to give an exact number and confirmation at this point.
It does not include the shooter.
It does not.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff.
How's your staff? How are you handling this?
I think we're handling it about as good as could be expected. I think everybody in this room, everybody in our county right now is suffering as a result of this tragic incident. So I appreciate you asking, but I think we're handling it very well, and our staff's doing a darn good job at managing it. Thank you.
Mr. Coroner, are you able to assess the type of injuries that led to these deaths? Were they all by gunshot?
Hey, Lex,
Again,
you ready to go
Chief
see your
Castle,
Hooter girls?
mentioned he spoke a little bit about the injuries. I'd rather not speak to the injuries. The families want answers, and I'd prefer out of respect for them to give them the answers before we make those public. So I'm not going to answer that at this time, Ken. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for your time, Sheriff.
Thank you once again for being here and spreading this information to our community. I want to reiterate what I said earlier, and I want to pay a special shout out to the sheriff and Chief Castle and the men and women, our first responders that are there. And as I said previously, when you see one of these men or women in their uniforms, please tell them thank you. They went in when everybody was running out, but for the fact that they were selfless actions, we would have hundreds more casualties than we are currently facing. There's no doubt in my mind I was on the crime scene It's horrific, and these folks did an absolutely incredible job, went above and beyond. I want to assure everyone that, you know, it's in your control right now. Las Vegas is a safe place to be. It's a safe place to visit, and we encourage people to continue to come here. We have been deluged with donations, people bringing sandwiches, bringing water, bringing blankets, bringing those sort of things. It's almost to the point we can't handle any more donations at the convention center. The sheriff and I spoke to you earlier regarding the blood donations. After we brought that out early this morning when the sheriff and I talked, and we put out a call for blood, and we have a 6 to 8 hour wait at all of our blood centers right now. Donations are being given, appointments are being made for Thursday and Friday. That's how far in advance we are. We set up a GoFundMe account because the sheriff and I thought that we could maybe help some of these victims with funeral expenses, with travel expenses. As it relates to the families, you're going to have to be coming in from out of town. We still have over 500 emergency rooms. We started that GoFundMe account. It now has almost 15,000 contributions in excess of $1.2 million.
Wow.
Donated by generous people around the country that, you know, care about what we're doing. The hate that this one individual, this lone wolf, rained down on our community. And
you hear that? This lone wolf.
Was met with an outpouring.
They automatically called him a lone wolf. They say they don't know his religion, affiliation, or nothing about him yet. Like, what was he mad about? What religion was he in? They don't know anything about that, but they know he ain't a terrorist.
Thank you very much. I'm Dina Titus.
How they know that?
I represent Nevada's 1st District, which includes
How they know he ain't a
Las
terrorist?
Vegas Strip and the
They
scene of
disqualify
the
that right off the bat.
So many times I have
If he
welcomed
was
people
black,
to Las Vegas conventions
thug,
or special
black or
events,
Mexican,
never imagined that I would
thug,
be standing here trying to offer
gangster, thug.
solace and
If he was
service to those who would
from
be
Iraq,
harmed or killed by
terrorist,
such an act.
right off the bat.
My office is serving as a clearinghouse. We don't want to get in the way.
If he's
of
white,
wonderful
he's
law
mentally
enforcement
ill.
and first responders
Lone
who have
wolf.
done such a good job, but we want to be there. in
Can't
any
that
way we
something?
can. We've gotten many phone calls into the office from people around the country.
FBI
looking
came
to
out and already
find
made a
out where
statement
their
saying
folks
that he
are,
was
were
not
they hurt
terrorist.
in the hospital, were they killed. We're trying to pass that information on to the appropriate place. A couple of immigration calls that we're trying to help with as well. I would point out, in addition to the services that have already been mentioned, Thomas and Mack opened up as a temporary refuge for people who were put
Now, I
out
wonder
of their
why.
hotel rooms. The Clark County School District has offered its counselors to the public if they're needed. We were contacted by Airbnb. They are also
When the thing happened in London,
facilities
I wonder if they
anybody
wanted
who
to
needs
check
to
if
come
and
into
check his
town
mental state.
to see about family members.
Or
The
was he just a
community is
terrorist?
stepping up. We heard acts of heroism. Off-duty police
London went down?
officers
Oh, it's
from
terrorism.
People's Shelter, pointing out
Hey,
where they
right
thought
away.
the shots were coming from. A friend of one of my staff members was
This
being
thing
trampled
happened
and
here? Oh,
running
he's a
out.
lone wolf.
Somebody grabbed him, pulled him
They
into a
fighting to
van
prove
just
he a
be
lone
safe,
wolf.
a total stranger. We are standing
They don't
on
even
the
know his.
corner
They
outside
already
of
said we don't know his religious background. So how you gonna sit there and say it's not a terrorist?
That's the kind of community that
And
we
you
have
already
here.
said
Las
you don't
Vegas
know his
is
religious
resilient.
background. You don't know
With
nothing about him yet.
everybody
They trying to
pulled
interview his
together,
chick.
we will get through this. So thank you very much to law enforcement, first responders, our fire department, those medical personnel who were taking care of people in the parking lots of hospitals. Everybody stepped up, and we can't say thank you enough.
Thank you. I'm Jackie Rosen, and I represent Nevada's 3rd District, just right outside the Las Vegas Strip. And I reiterate what everyone said here. Our first responders, our hospital staff, our hotel staff, firefighters, ambulance, police. And I stand before you not just as a congresswoman, but as a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a member of this community. And like Congresswoman Titus said, we are a strong community. We know how to fight, we know how to be resilient, and we know how to pull together, and that's just exactly what we're going to do. So today we're going to come together with all of our community partners, our hotels, Airbnb, our Lyft and Uber, our taxi drivers. We're going to do everything we can to support the victims, their families, and we're going to move forward, and we're going to do it together in strength. So I appreciate everybody's support that's helped us. Again, thank you.
Sheriff, thank you. And not a lot to add to what's already been said here.
United States Senator Dean Heller, but what I do want to add is that we'll never forget October 1st, 2017. Think about that. October 1st, 2017 will be a day to remember here in Las Vegas. And it's a day that we'll remember for years to come as we remember and think about how dangerous this world can be. I'm very grateful to the Sheriff's Department, all the first responders and everything that they've done. The help and the support from people around the country, the number of phone calls that we've received, the condolences that are flowing into this community is second to none. And I want to thank our whole congressional delegation.
Yep, if this guy was Iranian, he'd have been called a terrorist before they even got his name spelled right.
Nevada will remain strong.
You'd have thought his last name was terrorist.
We'll all do it working together.
Be like, oh, he's from India? Oh, he terrorist.
Carolyn Goodman, Mayor of the great city of Las Vegas. And the
But once it was a good old wholesome white boy with the name Stephen or something.
Stephen. Around this country from mayors and governors, but
also he's a lone wolf.
We want to thank for sure all of the law enforcement and first responders.
You see that? You see how they do that? They give him they make him sound sane. He was mentally ill. We want to check and see if he was mentally ill and check his medication. Because he must be crazy if he's killing somebody if he's white, right? He white and killed somebody. Shot a whole bunch of people. Oh, he must be on his medication must be messed up. Let's check his medication.
It's been simply incredible, and to learn that this wonderful
of course they don't do that with us.
Set up is over $1 million.
We thugs and criminals. We get locked up, put down. Well, he had a criminal record. He slept with 3 different women. He got 3 different baby mamas. So you know he's bad. They be in there trying to find anything on us.
Who were less seriously injured, how confused they were.
You hear him? His daddy used to rob banks, but that got nothing to do with him. You see this? His daddy robbed banks, but it got nothing to do with him. He ain't have any criminal record. If our daddy robbed a bank, you know what he said? He was probably the wheel man.
And because they were in a confined environment,
his father probably took the charge for the son.
Less open to
so you got a father that robbed banks
and talking to the patients, hearing different sounds.
He's a hunter.
Thinking it's fireworks.
He's a lone wolf. Give him a normal sounding name to try to not make him sound like a sadistic human being who plotted this.
And the fact that our
he was a lone wolf.
Law enforcement acted so quickly, so professionally, and attended to the need right then and there, and were able to get up into the Mandalay Bay in 4 minutes is simply an incredible feat. It is something that saved thousands of lives. We had over 22,000 people there in a small area, and it's simply amazing how efficiently law enforcement and first responders worked. You heard those words from our president. He called me on my cell phone and spoke with the sheriff and our attorney general with whom I was speaking, and just whatever he could provide, and he is coming out here. The question is, what can be done? People are asking, emails are coming, phone calls are coming in, and I'm sure everyone that's standing here has received them. This is a remarkable community of people who are involved, who do care, and this heinous crime, this maniac, could do such destruction to so many people. We even lost one of our members at our city hall. And so it's a
when white people kill white people, he's a maniac.
While the sun is shining in Las Vegas, it is a very dark and black day. And as I'm sure.
But the guy in Orlando, he was a terrorist right off the bat.
2000.
They didn't ask to see about his medication.
Will be one of the darkest days ever, and hopefully never again. Thank you, Sheriff, and thank you, law enforcement and first responders. Simply unbelievable. Tonight at 5 o'clock at City Hall will be the first of, I'm sure, several vigils. 5 o'clock, City Hall. Pastor Troy will be leading that, and I'm sure there'll be many others. This is a loving and caring community, and I'm proud to be its mayor.
Thank you. I'm Mark Hutchison, Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Nevada. The governor was here earlier and said that this has been our finest hour as a state. It's been our finest hour as a city. It's been our finest hour, I think, among our finest hours as Americans. If you were taken into UMC Medical Center, the trauma center there, and you were alive, you're still alive today. You're still alive at this hour. The amount of skill and professionalism that was shown by those doctors and those nurses and those medical professionals is extraordinary, something that we can be very, very proud of. Same is true if you went to Spring Valley Hospital. If you were alive, you're still alive. Could not be prouder of those men and women who saved so many lives in Las Vegas today, and who saved so many lives in Las Vegas last night. As I went into these hospital rooms throughout the day, as many of my friends and colleagues behind me, and they are my friends and colleagues, and there are true Nevadans and true Americans, they heard the same stories that I did. These heroic efforts of ordinary people from all over this country. I'll tell you how personal it is. I just came from Spring Valley Hospital, and there Karen was injured seriously and was carried away from the scene. And she said, if I ever had a chance to thank this individual, would I please thank him? His name's Sean Topper, who carried her from the scene. And she said, if you could get a chance to ever get a hold of him or reach him, let him know that I made it. And she said that he was her guardian angel that day. And we saw and heard story after story like this. Ordinary Americans helping other ordinary Americans. It's a great day for America. It's a very sad day for Las Vegas, my hometown. Tragedy beyond words. But this was a day when Americans helped Americans make it through the night. And I say, God bless them all. Thank you.
Mr. Hutchison, can you clarify? Did you tell us that everyone who went to those hospitals, none of them died at the hospital?
When I was at UMC today, I was told by the trauma surgeons that if everyone who made it into UMC alive was still alive. There were those who were not alive when they arrived. And that was the latest information that I got as well. There may be more updated information, but that was the information that I got. And wanted to make the point that there was extraordinary skill shown by the medical professionals at UMC.
Did anybody go to any hospitals out of this state?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, we had one individual, that's my recollection, in California. For coming. So just one more clarification. Besides the vigil at City Hall, there's an additional vigil at 5 p.m. at the Guardian Angel Cathedral, and that is adjacent to the Encore Hotel. Guardian Angel Cathedral at 5 p.m. So I'm happy to answer some questions at this time.
Sure. Any sort of manifesto or anything like that found in these hotels?
We haven't located anything of that description yet.
Should you tell us how many guns were found in the room?
16 in the room.
16 in the room.
Did you tell us what kind of rifles they used?
We have calibers ranging from .308 to .223.
Is there any evidence that he videotaped himself, phone or laptop or any kind of device?
I'm not aware of that at this point.
Is there any sort of surveillance?
One at a time, please.
Is there any sort of surveillance that he had set up to protect himself?
I'm not aware of that. I've been hearing that, but I'm completely aware of it to testify to.
Sure.
So.
The woman that you were looking at as a person of interest that you determined you didn't think had anything to do with this, now that you have found 18 more guns in their home and they apparently shared a home, do you revisit that? And how could someone not know that all of that was inside their home?
I didn't say we were discontinuing the investigation into that female. We are continuing the investigation into that female. There are several questions that need to be answered, similar to what you propose, but she is currently out of the country. We are making arrangements to contact her upon her return. No, I believe she's in Tokyo.
Sheriff, so 16 guns in the hotel room, 18 of them holding a skeet. Were there any other weapons recovered as part of this?
We had a handgun also in the hotel room, and I'm not aware of any other weapons.
Did you find anything? A handgun in addition to 16?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you find anything in the suspect's car at Mandalay Bay?
Yes, we found some, I believe it was fertilizer. Is that correct, Todd?
I don't know.
Ammonia sulfate. I can't recall the chemical compound. What is it?
Ammonium nitrate.
Ammonium nitrate within the car. We didn't have any compounds additional to that.
Sheriff, you mentioned finding explosives at the Mesquite home itself.
Correct.
What are we talking about? The improvised stuff and film?
No, I believe it was tannerite.
Have you been investigating any kind of a gambling debt, a huge,
No, I also saw that on the internet and presented on the internet. I believe some journalism research produced that, but we haven't had the opportunity to evaluate it.
Sheriff, why is SWAT team up north? Why are you sending a SWAT team up north? Do you know something, what's in that house?
No, we don't, ma'am. We have to, as part of the SWAT team is attachment of our armor personnel or our bomb squad. And we want to ensure that there's no booby traps available.
Sheriff, in the home that you...
Yes, we did.
Sheriff, in the...
modified from their original purchase?
We believe so. We haven't broken them down. The ATF hasn't evaluated them yet, but we believe, I don't know if the sear pins have been filed or whether they've been converted to fully automatic.
Sheriff, have we found anything in the way of any...
Slow down, please.
Have we found anything in any of the places that you've searched? Computer hard drives?
Yes, we have.
Anything else like that?
Yes, we have.
Are they...
We haven't evaluated them yet. The FBI has given us their resources to evaluate those.
Would the weapons be characterized as assault weapons?
Yes.
Were any of them modified for purchase automatic?
I am not aware of that. We are aware of one gun dealer that has come forward to say that he had sold the weapons to the suspect, but we are aware of some other individuals that are engaged in those transactions.
Gun dealer in Las Vegas?
Huh?
Gun dealer in Las Vegas?
I'm not aware of Las Vegas. We're aware of Arizona so far, but we're working on further.
It's just as simple as he had a huge suitcase and brought it all in himself.
No, there were several suitcases. I can't give you the exact number, but it was in excess of 10. So,
How long he was at the hotel for?
from the 28th.
Was he methodically just kept bringing suitcases back and forth and no one thought otherwise, or maybe they, it's a big place, I get it, but.
I wish that would have happened, ma'am. Absolutely wish that would have happened.
He visited the Harvest Festival during that time since he checked it?
We don't have any evidence of that.
Do you have a working motive at this point?
No, we don't.
Did he say one room, two?
It was one large suite that had 2 rooms.
Can you explain what led you to the 29th floor instead of the 32nd? How you got?
In the interaction with security, they believed it was between the 29th and the 32nd floor. And we had to evaluate each floor moving up.
Is there any belief that he was in here prior to this weekend? Maybe there was some talk that he might have been at Life is Beautiful or a different music festival?
We are researching that. We had information that he may have attended Life is Beautiful, but we haven't confirmed it yet.
Did you find the room because of the smoke detector, because of the broken window? What
No, we had complaints from customers into security.
And did a SWAT team break down the door?
Yes, they did.
Was he engaged by security before police arrived?
No, he engaged security. He shot through the doorway and struck security guard.
Was unspent ammunition found in the room?
Yes.
Did you say how much?
I don't know.
Was the security guard killed?
Okay, please slow down. Okay, I don't think as fast as you.
Was the security guard killed in the shot?
No, he wasn't. He was shot in the leg.
Sheriff, there are reports the shooter might have been employed by a federal agency. Is there any truth to that?
I can't confirm that or deny it. We are still evaluating that.
Sheriff, it might be a little soon to broach this idea, but are you and some of the casino owners and the property owners starting to think about plans for reevaluation and enhancement of security?
Target hardening, absolutely. That's a continual conversation. Recently, everyone is very aware of the Bollard project, and that was the intent to prevent any harm associated with that. So target hardening, evaluating customers will be a continual basis.
That's the sergeant of the police department. You talking about he getting pumped? That's Joseph Lombardo.
My understanding, they're boyfriend, girlfriend.
Sheriff, what's the distance from the room to where the shots landed?
I would measure by sight, just through my hunting background, in excess of 500 yards.
Did he use scope?
He had scope on some of the rifles.
And did he use multiple rifles during the assault?
Yes, he did. I don't know whether he used all of them or not, Ken. I don't know that yet. We have to break them down and evaluate them.
Sheriff, I lived in the airport and had a witness who said an officer shielded them. I just want you to expand on the role of your officers during this emergency and let us know how they're doing too.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very difficult question. Well, it's not difficult. It's a very hard question for me to answer because of what they did, the heroic acts. Quite often we're the ones that go in when everybody's running the other way, and then in case in point, this event, that's exactly what occurred. And we asked the officers who are well trained to address these type of events, active shooter events. But this is different than anything they've trained for because the active shooter is unreachable. So our intent is life safety. That's our first priority in law enforcement, and I'm very proud of what our officers did.
You heard earlier 4 minutes. Was it 4 minutes?
I couldn't give you, I don't even want to guess on a time, Ken. You probably do a better job than me with the evaluation of the video.
Has ATF given you a timeline on when they can expect the traces to be done, and what are you expecting to learn from that?
I believe that in short order. I'm hoping we'll get that. Aaron, you have any timeline on that? I would anticipate in the next day or two.
Sure, I think it's claiming responsibility for this.
Good for them.
You have anything?
No, we have no evidence of that.
Sheriff, when he was engaging with your officers, was there anything said? Did you yell anything?
I'm not aware of anything. So we do our standard announcements before entry.
Sheriff, you mentioned tannerite was found in the vehicle. Can you explain?
No, not in the vehicle, in the home.
Excuse me, in the home. Can you explain a little bit more what exactly that item is, what it's used for? Is this the explosive that's used in exploding targets?
Yes, exactly. You could buy it at any gun store. I don't know what the regulations is on the amount. I don't want to give you a bad amount, but it's available, commercially available.
Did you say how much was found in the house?
No, I can't recall. I was told, but I can't recall.
Sheriff, do you have any?
Several pounds.
Sheriff, do you have any information that he frequented Las Vegas often, or were scouting out locations in the weeks leading up to this?
No, ma'am. Other than what's possibly been presented with Life is Beautiful, and he does live in close vicinity of Las Vegas in excess of a year, with that being in Mesquite.
Does that Players Club card that was found in there give any indication that he's familiar with that specific hotel?
No, because the Player Club's card did not belong to him.
You have evidence he stayed at the Mandalay Bay before?
No, I don't. I'm not aware of it.
Some of the folks in Mesquite don't seem to know who he is, think he might not have actually held his primary residence there. He's got the house up in Reno. Do you know where he actually physically lived?
I believe it was Mesquite. I think I saw a posting, depending on the accuracy of the internet, that the neighbors were familiar with the individual, but he was reclusive.
Can you walk us through it all from the minutes of the shots ring up, how you guys got to the
No, all the officers, this will be the last question for you. All the officers were assigned to the event. We do have officers that were assigned for other events inside the Mandalay Bay as a matter of weekly practice, specifically the nightclubs. But I'm sure they were not aware of what was taking place, similar to the officers at the event. Officers took it upon themselves to help the customers exit the grounds, and some officers took it upon themselves to immediately go to the Mandalay Bay. There was a team of 6 officers that approached security. They went up the elevators after discussing the situation with the security and obtaining their intelligence. And they checked each floor by floor until they located where they believed to be the room. Subsequently, they approached the room, received gunfire, they backed off, and SWAT responded. I don't recall a smoke alarm. So thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's time and your patience, and we will update you later this evening. Todd, do you have a time you want to update them?
7 o'clock, 7 p.m.
We'll shoot for 7 p.m. tonight for updates of any new information.
Is that clear, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Sheriff
that's it.
Lombardo of Clark County, briefing about the latest details of this investigation.
Those are all the
as well as
details to
from
the
a host of other
investigation.
officials on a number of things. Just a quick recap. The official death toll now stands at 59. That does not include the shooter. 527 wounded, being treated at 5 area hospitals. There were 19 guns found in a home that in Mesquite, Nevada, along with explosives, several thousand rounds of ammunition, and electronic devices, according to the sheriff. 16 guns found in the room, and 10 suitcases, likely with ammo and other material. There is another home in northern Nevada that the SWAT team is getting ready to go into, along with a bomb disposal unit. The positive sign from authorities on the ground is that blood donations have been out outpouring lines around the blocks as hospitals are desperately in need of blood. They've also seen some money coming in as this investigation continues. You heard the Q&A there. Let's go to the scene. Trace Gallagher joins me on the ground there, and here in studio, Catherine Herridge, the latest on this investigation. Trace, if you look and listen to everything that was just laid out there about this guy who doesn't have a criminal record, who's 64 years old, he clearly had a planning ongoing for some time to have this much material ahead of this shooting.
And they're going back and they're looking at all the surveillance video from Mandalay Bay now, Brett, to find out how many times this guy came back and forth and how many suitcases. You mentioned 16 guns inside the hotel room in Mandalay Bay. The sheriff also said there was a handgun on top of that. What he didn't really understand or tell us was the number of AR-15 assault weapons that were in there. We have been told there were at least 2 and that they had been modified to become fully automatic weapons. The sheriff did talk about the calibers, the .308 and the .223, meaning the guns were actually modified to shoot higher caliber weapons to do more damage, to go after and kill and maim more people down below. But as you say, when you're talking about this type of extensive planning, a man who spent 4 days inside this hotel room, brought numerous suitcases up, numerous weapons up, took hammers and knocked out the windows of this 2-bedroom suite. He was looking directly down on the venue, and not just from one angle, Brett, because it's a little deceiving. The windows are actually a different angle. One is a 45-degree angle facing down at crowd that was on this side. The other one's facing down directly. So he certainly did his homework to figure out how he could get the most damage out of these weapons. And then he built platforms on top of these windows so that he could actually fire down. They just said, which we learned for the first time, that he did fire on security guards as they came in, hitting one security guard in the leg. When police and SWAT teams came in, he fired on them. They pulled back. SWAT teams went in. By the time SWAT teams got inside, he had already killed himself. We should note the question was asked about motive, and someone brought it up saying, didn't he have a lot of gambling debt? Well, we have learned that in the past several weeks he has made some fairly large bets. We don't know if he won or lost those bets. His family says that he was an accountant at Lockheed Martin, did very well. The sheriff just laid out that he has homes in Mesquite, he has a home in Reno, he also has a home in Mesquite, Texas, and one in Florida, and his family says that he has done very well over the years. So was money a factor? Was gambling a factor? Because we, 18 hours after this shooting, Brett, still have no idea what his religious affiliation is or his political affiliation, but his family says he wasn't big into either of those.
Yeah, the brother, Trace, saying he was a multimillionaire, real estate investor, heavy gambler. Again, no criminal record. Catherine, interesting, the question was asked about the girlfriend who's out of the country. Yes. We thought she was in the Philippines. The sheriff saying she's in Tokyo, and they're not done with that part of the investigation. Also, the gun dealer, one of them came forward from Arizona, who said he sold some of the weapons to this man.
I'm glad you picked up on this girlfriend, Mary Lou Danley. That seems to be one of the significant shifts in the way that authorities in Las Vegas are discussing her. Earlier today, they seemed to indicate that she had no part in this attack, but now they're saying that there's currently an ongoing investigation. She is out of the country. They're waiting for her return. Before I came to the studio, a law enforcement contact said to me that they do have the ability to question her by one of their legal attaches overseas, but they seem to anticipate that she would willingly return to the United States and take questions.
And quickly, we had ISIS twice today claim that Paddock was a soldier for them and had converted to Islam. The authorities are not saying that there is a known motive yet. They're not ruling out anything. Earlier they said that there was a lone wolf situation. How unusual is it for ISIS to come out like this?
Well, one of my counterterrorism contacts who does a lot of collection for the U.S. government said this is a really perplexing situation. You had that statement of responsibility from ISIS earlier in the day, providing no evidence, and then you had the second statement almost doubling down on some kind of connection to the shooter Paddock, but then again offering no evidence. When we look at ISIS's pattern of activity, they have claimed responsibility for attacks in the past that have simply been bogus. You think back to the attack on the Philippines on that casino. So they have had a track record for that, but really the electronics are going to tell us the whole story, and the FBI is going to do a full forensic scrub on his possessions.
And plus all of that material. Catherine, thank you. Tris, thank you. President Trump will go to Las Vegas the day after tomorrow. He made a relatively short and somber address to the nation this morning. Let's check in with Chief White House correspondent John Roberts tonight on the North Lawn. Good evening, John.
Good evening, Brett. The president did a number of things today. He and the First Lady led a moment of silence out in the South Lawn. The president ordered all federal flags to half-staff, and he wasted no time early this morning addressing the shooting.
It was an act of pure evil.
An act of pure evil. How the president described the mass murder of nearly 60 people at a concert in Las Vegas last night.
Hundreds of our fellow citizens are now mourning the sudden loss of a loved one, a parent, a child, a brother or sister. We cannot fathom their pain. We cannot imagine their loss. To the families of the victims, we are praying for you, and we are here for you.
It was the first such event on President Trump's watch, and the worst in modern U.S. history. The president seeking to calm an anxious nation and comfort the survivors.
We call upon the bonds that unite us, our faith, our family, and our shared values. Our unity cannot be shattered by evil.
As she began the daily briefing today, a visibly emotional Sarah Sanders talked about acts of heroism as people helped each other, sometimes at the cost of their own lives.
The memory of those who displayed the ultimate expression of love in the midst of an unimaginable act of hate will never fade. Their examples will serve as an eternal reminder that the American spirit cannot and will not ever be broken.
The shooting prompted messages of condolence from world leaders, among them the UK's Theresa May, who called it, quote, a completely senseless and cowardly attack. Italian Prime Minister Gentiloni, who said, quote, we all have in our minds and hearts above all this horrible slaughter that took place last night. And the Thai Prime Minister, who was visiting the White House today.
Express my condolences to those victims and family of the shooting incident in Las Vegas last night.
President Trump announced today he will travel to Las Vegas on Wednesday to meet with survivors and friends and family of the victims.
Very sad moment for me, for everybody, no matter where you are. No matter what your thought process, this is a very, very sad day.
Tomorrow, the president will travel to Puerto Rico to survey the federal response to Hurricane Maria.
We're going to be seeing all of the first responders, the military, FEMA, and frankly, most importantly, we're going to be seeing the people of Puerto Rico. It's been amazing what's been done in a very short period of time on Puerto Rico.
Among the officials he is expected to meet with, San Juan Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz. After Cruz criticized the federal response, President Trump accused her on Twitter of, quote, poor leadership, lumped her in with, quote, politically motivated ingrates, and claimed she has, quote, now been told by the Democrats that you must be nasty to Trump. Cruz said she'd be happy to meet with the president and seemed to have shifted her opinion of the federal response.
I've been quite complimentary of the people from HHS and FEMA. Their heart is in the right place, but we have to cut the red tape.
While most Puerto Rican officials have praised President Trump for sending in the cavalry, criticism followed the president to Liberty National Golf Course yesterday. While presenting the President's Cup, a man in the crowd shouted that the president didn't give a blank about Puerto Rico. The president either didn't hear or ignored the remark. San Juan's mayor continues to insist that now is not the time to talk about Puerto Rico's financial problems or the cost of rebuilding, but with some people looking at the federal disaster response as a down payment on a bailout, the president wants to make sure that he keeps the focus on disaster relief. Brett?
John Roberts live on the North Lawn. John, thanks. Let's get some analysis of what happened, the response both in Las Vegas and throughout a very shaken country tonight. Senior political analyst Brit Hume is here. Good evening,
Brit Hume.
The president's
go ahead, Brit Hume.
Reaction post.
Shut it down, Brit Hume.
Of a hideous atrocity like this is that it might further deepen the divisions in a country already badly divided, riven by political divisions. The president, I think, was at pains to do nothing to contribute to that outcome. He's not a man known for being particularly soothing, but his remarks today were, I think, about as soothing as they could be. And he did not go to battle stations, as so many others seem to have done, on any issue, guns or any of the rest of it. But he seemed to me to try rather to tap into the uniting sentiment that people feel, feelings of grief and horror and shock at this ghastly massacre. And so I think that's what we would have hoped for from him, and I think most people would look at what and listen to what he said today and think it was just right.
You obviously have some politicians, including Hillary Clinton, tweeting out about doing something, putting politics aside and standing up to the NRA. Others have been more bold in statements today. Thoughts on that, as we definitely are going to have another...
Brett Hill, baby!
Well, we are very early in our understanding of what happened here. I mean, you listen to that news conference and you could tell it's the early stages of this investigation, which is proceeding on a multiple set of fronts. You know, we have the woman overseas, we have the man's house, we have the suite, we have all this we don't know. His own brother's remarks suggested that his brother had no idea that he was capable of anything like this, or that was even in the offing in any way. So there's too much we don't know. And you have to ask this question, Brett, can we not have a day in which we mourn this horrible thing as a nation? We feel sympathy for the victims. We mourn their loss. We feel pride and indeed admiration for the people who rushed to try to salvage this situation to the extent possible, the lives that were saved, even perhaps lives that were lost, before we engage in some very divisive debate over an issue on which there's been no agreement in this country for a very long time.
Brett, as always, thank you.
Thank you, Brett.
One of the top viewers for CBS.
So, Brett be talking about
it.
We just wanted to find out when the president decided that we go down this road, and that's what we got to do. Brett! Go ahead, Brett!
Comments are deeply unacceptable to all at CBS. When we come back, we'll look at some of the other stories today. There is other news besides this giant story we're covering, and we'll keep you updated on the investigation into the Las Vegas massacre.
Hey, what happened?
Or other surfaces. Wait 15
Everybody
minutes
go?
after use before... Right?
What happened? Oh, snap. We done lost it, y'all. I'm going to get it back. Hold on. Here we go.
Out about him as though he has a secret life. And if that's
Look at him.
true,
Like he just came out the bar.
Really particularly interesting about him.
He had explosives in his house in Mesquite, Nevada, several thousand rounds of ammunition, 18 additional weapons, and that doesn't include the 16 he had in his hotel suite, and in his vehicle he had ammonium nitrate, which is obviously very, very disturbing because it potentially could be used to build a fertilizer bomb, or it could have other more peaceful purposes. But what does that say to you as an FBI profiler?
It says that this man was very mission-oriented. This was a mission for him. It was a mission to bring as much firepower as he could to that room. And you only do that for one reason, which is to kill as many people as you possibly can. He wasn't intending to injure people. He wanted to kill people. And then part of his plan was to kill himself.
Methodically bringing in the firearms over several days, probably.
Probably,
right. And renting it on Thursday. I mean, this is something, you know, we've talked to sources, Wolf, who've told us that they believe he cased this location. He knew what angles he was going to be using to be able to carry this out.
And I think once the investigation wraps up, we're going to find that he went to several hotels, looked at several rooms to find the perfect place. And to put this into context, what he was doing was, in that room, he was like a hunter up on one of those platforms that hunters sit on, because he was basically hunting the victims below, which is a totally new shift in these cases. We have not seen this since the Charles Whitman case back in 1966 on top of the Texas Tower. And this is a frightening shift with these kinds of cases.
And you heard Sheriff Lombardo, Clark County Sheriff, say that he had about 10 suitcases in that hotel room. Just, it wasn't a hotel room, it was a suite, it was 2 rooms. That's why windows on both sides of that suite were broken, and he went from window to window with his automatic weapons, killing people.
And that's really what Whitman did on the Texas Tower. He placed the weapons around the tower so he could move very efficiently back and forth. But I think what's really interesting, my understanding is that there was maid service in the room during the period of time that he was there, and he was able to make his way through their coming to the room without creating any suspicion. So even though he had those 10 suitcases filled with weapons and bullets, it still didn't draw that kind of suspicion.
Right. This is a convention town, so my understanding is actually there are, like, for example, firearms conventions and so on that come to Las Vegas. So it's not unusual if you come there and you see someone with this kind of firepower, you might think someone's showing up early for a convention. Again, lots of things that people in Vegas don't ask questions about because, you know, that's what Vegas is supposed to be.
And he had a game plan. He probably knew exactly what he would say if somebody asked him.
Exactly.
And the fact that he had 10 suitcases, they were probably all locked, they were closed. I've been in a lot of hotel rooms. Right. All of us have. When housekeeping comes to clean the room, they don't open up suitcases. Right, exactly. They go ahead and simply clean up the room. Stand by, joining us on the phone right now, Amber Diskin. She was among the thousands of people who fled as the bullets began raining down. First of all, Amber, how are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm only a few hours of sleep, so just still in shock.
Tell us about that moment that the shooting started and when you realized after a few seconds it wasn't fireworks, it was bullets aimed towards the 22,000 people who were at that outdoor concert.
Well, luckily we weren't up close to the stage. We were where all the shooting was on the grass area. And I looked at my friend and I said, that sounds like gunshots. She said, no, it's got to be fireworks. And I kept looking towards Mandalay Bay, and I'm like, I don't see fireworks. And then the crowd just seemed panicked. And then once the concert just completely shut down, that's when everybody just dropped and kind of fled. And it's like it was like he started shooting slowly, and then it just increased.
How did you escape the scene, Amber?
We ran, and people were pushing and falling, and I ended up knocking on somebody's truck saying, can I go with you guys? And thankfully he let me jump in his car and two other girls, and we were able to get down Tropicana and get away from the strip.
You were at the concert with some friends. How are they doing?
They're good. Two of them went to Thompson Mack, and their dad picked them up there, and then the other two were locked down in Hooters in a room with a hotel room with like 20 other people. Somebody let them in, and they were locked down until like 4 or 5 a.m. You've lived in Las Vegas, I know, for years. Do you know of anyone else affected by the shooting? I do. My sons, I was told one of their old football coaches was the off-duty that was killed, and I know another guy I went to school with was shot, but he's okay. Oh, I have some other realtor friends that witnessed people passing and you know, people getting shot. Yeah, it's an awful situation. Amber Diskin, you were there, you're an eyewitness. Good luck to you, good luck to your friends, good luck to everyone in Las Vegas right now. People were at that concert from all over the country. Phil Mudd, let's get back to this investigation. So much disturbing information released by the Sheriff Joseph Lombardo. I don't know where to pick it up.
Well, I think there's one conclusion you can draw moving forward, including during the conversations we listened to among the law enforcement professionals. That is, if you look on the preventive side of this, how do you prevent someone from bringing 10 suitcases into a hotel? I think the answers are going to be frustrating. The way forward in the coming days, though, Wolf, is not about prevention, it's about deterrence. If someone knew about this, and if we determine, for example, whether it's a family member or friend, regardless of whether they're a co-conspirator, the message from law enforcement is, you got to ring the phone, because the deterrent effect of this will be, if you don't, we're going to file federal charges. I think there's going to be deterrent questions here, but prevention is going to be frustrating. You know, it's interesting. A lot of these lone killers end up killing themselves. Obviously, their crimes are still being investigated, but do you really think we ever will learn from the investigations what actually went through this individual's mind and how to help prevent future attacks? I don't think so. When you look at this case, look at the Pulse nightclub case, I'm still not certain what happened in that case. If you look at San Bernardino, remember we had people who were radicalized by ISIS, but they chose to attack an office location and not a public event like this. I don't think we fully understand those, and those are going back a year or more. In this case, especially if someone operated in some isolation, I think a year from now we'll still be questioning what exactly happened here, Wolf.
Evan Perez, the investigation right now, it's only been, a day, not even a day, but it's at a critical point.
Right, exactly. Well, one of the things they're trying to do is retrace his steps over the last few days. There's a lot of information that can be gotten, especially, as we pointed out, the fact that he rented this hotel room on Thursday, and so he's been there for a few days. They want to see who he met with, if there's anything else from his family that might have indicated that something was amiss and certainly deteriorating with this man.
And they clearly will want to speak with Mary Lou Danley, his girlfriend, who apparently, according to the sheriff right now, is in Tokyo. Right. I don't know if they've even had a chance to speak with her yet, but they clearly want to get some answers from her as well. All right, guys, thanks very much. That's it for me. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Wolf Blitzer in the Situation Room. Our breaking news coverage continues right now with Aaron Burnett out front. Aaron is in Las Vegas right now.
All right, Aaron.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Uh-oh, breaking news!
Burnett live in Las Vegas tonight. A welcome to our viewers across the United States and around the world. Out front tonight, the horrific breaking news. At least 59 people are dead tonight. 527 are injured. This is the deadliest mass shooting in modern American history. It is an unspeakable tragedy, and it began late last night, here where we are along the Las Vegas Strip. That was the sound of the storm of bullets that hit a massive crowd of
my man got out of there with that guitar. He had that guitar, he was gone. My man was jamming, he was like,
A 64-year-old former accountant, his name is Stephen Paddock, firing a barrage of bullets from a hotel room. He was 32 stories above that crowd. Moments ago, police revealed that the shooter had 16 guns with him inside his hotel room, which was at the Mandalay Bay, which is the casino directly behind where we're standing. Police also found ammonium nitrate, which is a highly explosive chemical inside the shooter's car. Tannerite, which is another highly volatile explosive, was found in the shooter's home. The carnage from this mass shooting is truly horrific. There aren't words to imagine what happened here. I want to warn you that the video we're about to show you is very disturbing. This is what you see here. This was the scene. Witnesses saw bodies everywhere. Everywhere is what they're telling us. The injuries were horrible. So many people shot. Others were trampled. Others hit by fragments of all of the pavement that came up. Chaos as 22,000 people ran from the gunfire that to so many seemed never to stop. The big question tonight is still why? Why would this person from Mesquite, Nevada, 80 miles from Las Vegas, living in a retirement community described by his brother as a multi-millionaire, why did he do this? Paddock's brother, Eric, spoke out earlier
a multi-millionaire!
That he's equally mystified about his brother and how this could have happened.
We're lost. I don't understand. There's no anything. Not an avid gun guy at all. The fact that he had those kind of weapons is just, where the hell did he get automatic weapons? He has no military background or anything like that. I mean, when you find out about him, like I said, he's a guy who lived in a house in Mesquite and drove down and gambled in Las Vegas.
And we begin our breaking coverage with Martin Savage. He is here with me in Las Vegas.
The brother lying.
They just gave an update.
The brother lying. I saw it in his eyes. Brother knew his brother was nuts.
His brother talking about this. Where did this arsenal come from?
Yeah, every time we have one of these updates,
brother lying. He lying for his brother.
So
I get it, but he lying.
Since we know they work in the hotel room, they're working the
he lying.
And then of course 2 residents.
Oh, he knows something. I bet you they put them pliers on him.
Where authorities say
he'll be singing like Beverly Seals.
They have found 18 more weapons. They don't go into details, but they also say thousands and thousands of rounds of ammunition. So it is another arsenal that was found there. Then on top of that, they said they found explosives and they found electronic devices. Again, they don't go into detail on that. So that's what they've discovered so far as the weaponry, and it's just amazing.
It's impossible to comprehend. I know that we also know that they're saying that he killed himself perhaps just before they entered that room. But you're learning more about that instance.
Right. It's been back and forth on this one.
Yeah.
You know, it was initially reported that perhaps he had taken his own life at the very moment the SWAT team was making entry into his room on the 32nd floor. Now they've clarified that point. They say that as the SWAT officers actually broke in the door, that the gunman charged them, made it through the door, struggled with the officers, and was able to get off at least one shot, wounding one SWAT officer in the leg, and then that gunman was killed.
So there was an action. All right, Martin Savage, thank you very much. And you know, when you think about what happened here, it happened over 10 to 15 minutes, which can seem like an eternity or sound like not much time at all for such horrific carnage. At the end, 59 people, as of this moment, have died. 527 more are wounded tonight. Just after 10 p.m. Sunday night, gunfire rains down on a crowd of 22,000 country music fans out in the open along the Las Vegas Strip. 10:08, the first 911 calls to police.
I'm inside the Mandalay Bay on the 31st floor. I can hear the automatic fire coming from one floor ahead, one floor above us.
As you can see here, the crowd is some 400 yards away from the sniper's nest in the Mandalay Bay Hotel, completely exposed in an open field. Authorities believe the shooter used a hammer to smash out the windows in his room on the 32nd floor.
The gunshots lasted for 10 to 15 minutes. Like, it didn't stop.
Everyone said hit the floor, so everyone was just like literally laying on top of each other, trying to get out of the way, and the shots just kept coming.
At first, confusion in the crowd. Then, panic, chaos, thousands of people literally running for their lives.
Why is there blood?
No matter which direction you went in, no matter where you took cover, there was at least 2 to 3 bodies that were a part of it, and you didn't know where you were safe.
Within minutes, dozens lay dead, hundreds more injured.
People were climbing the fences, pushing their way through. The barricades were coming down. People were screaming, crying. Everybody was just trying to get out.
We had a man come running up to us, blood down his shirt, saying his friends are dead, his friends are dead.
Las Vegas first responders were quick on the scene, but faced with an overwhelming task. The gunman holed up somewhere inside a 43-story hotel with more than 3,000 rooms. But thanks in part to 911 calls from inside the hotel, officers were able to locate him quickly.
And sign on this house next door. I need everybody in that hallway to be aware of it and get back. We need to pop this and see if we can get any type of response from this guy. And see if he's in here or if he can actually move down somewhere else. Breach.
11:28, almost an hour and a half after this nightmare began. Police blow the shooter's door. Inside, 64-year-old Stephen Paddock lay dead. Police believe Paddock shot himself seconds before. Also in the room, at least 10 rifles.
He was my brother. Yeah. It's like an asteroid fell out of the sky.
Eric Paddock, seemingly in disbelief that his brother could be behind the deadliest mass shooting in modern American history.
There's not even anything I can say. I mean, how do you... I mean, my brother did this. This is like it was done, you know, like he shot us.
Out front tonight, someone who was on stage during the show.
He don't seem too sad that his brother's dead.
Stormy,
he don't seem too surprised that his brother's dead.
Yeah, everyone who's there, everybody who's watching the coverage of this, I think all of our lives.
You see that? It's like no empathy.
You were there, obviously.
While he's talking.
Really on stage, essentially, as this.
He knows something.
Yeah, Jason Aldean was about 30 minutes, 20 minutes.
He
into
know.
his final headlining set. For the
He know.
Weekend. And Rat-a-tat-tat, we thought it was
I get it out of him.
maybe an audio glitch in the
Can't
system,
fool me.
And didn't think much of it, but then when the longer volley rang out from
Nah, he don't want the bad. This looks bad on the family.
And got Jason.
So he wants to try to act like we don't know nothing. We don't know. Oh no, we didn't know he was this crazy.
No, because so
You
many
knew
people
your brother was
filming
messed up
concert with their phones,
when he killed that
kids, audio,
squirrel
some of what happened. And I
for
just
no
wanted
reason.
to play a piece for you because I think when people hear it, they might feel, probably as I know you felt at first, that it was sort of part of the act. I'll just give a chance.
Right, they pops was a bank robber, so you know he know how to lie to people.
I can't imagine what it's like for you probably hear that in your mind all day.
Yeah. We had to turn the TV volume down last night, like 3 in the morning. We couldn't sleep or whatever. Every clip played those bullets back and forth and then gunfire, and it's it's a sound no one should have to hear in our country, anywhere.
And you, at first, you did think it was part of the act, but then immediately you started rushing in to try to help people as people started to run, because after there was that first barrage of bullets, there was then a pause, right? A brief pause as you ran out to help.
Well, there's a seemingly, I guess he was reloading, and then there was volley after volley of machine gun fire. We didn't know when it was going to end. It seemed to go on at least 20 minutes or so. And at that point, we were just hiding and just trying to make sure that we were not going to be exposed. We didn't know exactly where it was coming from. We kind of assumed it was from the rooftop of the Mandalay, but we just tried to put something between us and where the shots were coming from. And only after about maybe 20-25 minutes of silence did we feel like we could go out and then try to tend to people. And that's where the true horror actually revealed itself, because we saw a few wounded. We were like, oh man, somebody did get hit. And then we walked out into the bowl where all the fans were, and it was empty beer cups, trash, and bodies.
That's when you realized, you didn't realize until then that people were dead.
I didn't realize to the extent of what the carnage was. And that was, it's tough to see for anybody. And then to have the injuries, people screaming for help, and not enough help right at that moment. I mean, the first responders got there as fast as they could, and they were spread thin, and they did an amazing job. And what I wanted to point out is the humanity that revealed itself last night. Veterans running around going, I'm a veteran, I have medical training, I can help. Is anybody hurt? And helping, everybody helping with whether it was with comfort, water, towels, whatever. Everybody chipped in and tried to do whatever we could.
And so many people there lying, wanting help. From what you could see, were the people who could still benefit from help getting it?
It's not as fast as I think they or any of us would have liked. That was the real hard part. I mean, there was some people dying literally in front of us. And there's some things we just couldn't do.
When you think about what happened, do you have any comprehension? When you're saying you had a feel for where the bullets were coming from, and now you're starting to hear these things about this person, how anybody could do something like this person did.
I can't put it in words. I can't think about it. I can't think of what the person breaks open the window, points a rifle out the window at a sea of people having the time of their lives, and what he plans to get from that. What is the goal? He ends up dead anyway. What did he want to achieve? And I don't think any of us are going to have those answers.
What do you do now, Stormy?
Pick up, rebound as much as we can. We'll still have music festivals. Entertainers will still entertain. Country fans will still come out and enjoy the music. And we will not let this stop us. But we're going to pause for a minute.
As of course you have to, and should. Thank you. Stormy, next, more details about the shooter. This big question of how a human being could do something like this. His father was a bank robber. He was on the FBI's most wanted list. Plus, how did he get into such a major hotel with 16 firearms, automatics or semi-automatics? The mayor of Las Vegas is my guest, and the heroes. There are so many heroes. You heard Stormy saying the people who rushed in to try to help people and save a life of someone who was clinging to it on the ground. One man risked his own life to get others to safety. We're going to talk to him tonight, and we'll be right back.
Maria is an incredible mom.
Kids, but I can't cure them. The soda pop tax is the right thing to do.
Nobody does it better. She's also in a rock band. Look at her shred. But when it comes to mortgages, she's less.
Still ahead, brands tracking the chance of rain tomorrow.
And we continue to follow breaking news on the deadly concert shooting. We are at the airport where people are just returning from Las Vegas tonight.
Allison, some of them were at the concert, others watched the whole thing play out from their hotel room. Coming up, we'll have their stories on Channel 5 News at 6.
And coming up on the NBC5 News at 10, more on the tragedy in Vegas. Chicago hosts big concerts and athletic events. The question tonight, how safe are we, and can we do more to protect ourselves at crowded events? That's tonight at 10.
That's why I stay in the house.
Positive.
Morgan
It's
Stanley.
Netflix night, baby.
Tragedy has struck Las Vegas, but the entire nation is grieving for the 59 people who have died and praying for the more than 500 injured in a mass shooting on the Vegas Strip. It's hard to think that anyone could relate to a horrific act of this magnitude, but as police chief in Orlando, Florida, John Mina directed first responders in the wake of the Pulse nightclub shooting last year, where 49 people were killed when a gunman opened fire inside a crowded nightclub. He knows exactly what the victims, the survivors, and first responders in Las Vegas are going through tonight. Chief Mina, so sorry to have you on under these circumstances, but I'm glad you're here to help us understand how a tragedy like this can affect a city. So first, what was your first thought when you heard the news this morning out of Las Vegas?
Oh, my heart just sunk. You know, seeing those images on the news, the same type of images that you saw here from Pulse, first responders, you know, running towards the scene, and you know, people running away, and the massive law enforcement and first responder response just brought back so many memories from June 12, 2016.
Well, and I know that you've reached out to Las Vegas Sheriff Joe Lombardo. What advice did you give him?
I did text him and just reached out and said that, hey, anything you need, Joe, we're here for you, and to let us know. And he just texted back, thank you. I'm sure he's getting overwhelmed with messages from all of law enforcement like I did back in June.
Well, yeah, and I know Orlando is still reeling from that tragedy. What kind of recovery process does Las Vegas face now?
Well, you know, all of their
some country
officers,
music,
and really their citizens are going to face some type of post-traumatic stress, and the key is not to let that post-traumatic stress turn into a disorder or a disability. So it's important for certainly the first responders who are at the scene to be giving counseling and mandatory counseling to make sure they have time off before they have to come back to their next shift. And that's where, you know, the rest of the department and the rest of the surrounding agencies can also help in that matter. But these officers definitely need counseling, and really the whole community, and especially the survivors and families of the victims need it as well.
Well, I understand the shooter may have had some ties to Orlando. His brother Eric lives there. The shooter may have lived in the area at one time. Are investigators working with your office to get more information on the killer?
Yeah, they keep us apprised of what's going on, but really just other than what's been released to open sources, that's all we really know right now, that the ties to the Orlando area through his brother.
Interesting. Well, Chief Mina, thank you so much for joining us. Really, your perspective here is invaluable. Thank you.
Good to be here.
I want to bring in CNN counterterrorism analyst Phil Mudd, who is joining me here in New York. First, Phil, to a layman, even someone who's covered far too many of these, it seems as though this attack involved a lot of planning, from the high-floor corner suite overlooking the concert to buying tickets for the event to carrying upwards of a dozen long guns and ammo into a hotel room unseen. What does this tell you, if anything, about the killer?
What it tells me is that the narrative I saw through a lot of the day is incorrect. I've seen phrases in the media like crazed lunatic. You're pointing to something I would look at initially. The piece you're seeing, how many weapons? By my count, 34 so far in the hotel and the residence. The fact that he thought enough to start acquiring what appears to be explosive material, that is fertilizer. Yeah. There's behind the scenes. I'm now looking at things like Google searches. Was he researching a month ago, 2 months ago, how to build an explosive device? Right. When is the first weapon he bought? And does that suggest that there is foreplanning going back more than even a couple of months? What I'm seeing is maybe someone obviously who is deranged, but with this amount of material, and even the fact that he checked into the hotel days in advance, I'm looking saying, there's more here than a deranged killer. There's somebody who thought.
Not someone who just snapped.
Correct, that's right.
Right. As we've said, it's obviously too early to know the killer's motives. His family says he wasn't religious, he wasn't political, but based on the number of weapons, the number of rounds, the number of casualties, the fact that he wasn't known to local authorities, can you piece any of that together to make something of this?
Well, I'm going to start by telling you, I don't believe anything anybody says. In this case, you're going to develop a timeline. That timeline has at least a couple of characteristics. What you know in terms of facts. Who talked to him on social media? Who did he text? Who did he call? You can get that, obviously, from phone companies, from internet service providers.
Right.
I'm going to overlay interviews. Who says they talked to him? Who says he didn't have any connectivity with people involved in, for example, the gun community, and start to see if there are inconsistencies. My bottom line here is, despite the fact that the neighbors said he was relatively isolated, we know he talked to the family, his brother said so today. We know he had a girlfriend, and we know over the course of time he acquired a vast quantity of material.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me that nobody knew nothing at any point of this? I'm suspicious.
Well, I've heard a number of people point out today that he
That's
doesn't
right.
fit in within the typical background of these lone wolf killers, and that he's older than the usual age range. But I was reminded of the congressional baseball game shooting where that killer was also a white male in his mid-60s. Is it possible that the profile is changing, is evolving somehow?
It's possible, but I don't buy it yet. When you get into the heat of the moment here, people want to take one or two circumstances and draw an entire conclusion.
Right.
As an analyst, I look at this and say, I need a data set that goes beyond one or two. If you're playing blackjack in Vegas and you miss two hands in a row, are you going to say that's a trend? I'm going to say maybe it's an accident. I look at this and say, with 330 million Americans, if we have a couple of incidents of people who are outside the profile, is that a trend yet? And I'd say not yet. I need to see more.
Well, Las Vegas and casinos in particular have unparalleled surveillance. Thousands of cameras everywhere. How do you think he was able to pull this off?
Well, how could he have been detected? You go to Vegas, let me give you a few characteristics in a city. You've probably been there. I've been there multiple times. That is accustomed to having, obviously, a lot of tourist traffic. And you go to somebody who's providing security or someone who's a hotel mate and you say this. I want you to find somebody who's checked in with 10 bags. In this case, 10 suitcases. What if he doesn't take those suitcases out? What if he never does anything suspicious? What if his room looks like any other room and your basis for suspicion is 10 bags? I think people are going to too quickly say, there must be something here we can find, and my answer is, I don't see it.
Wow. Well, and quickly, from a tactical response standpoint.
Man, he killed a kindergarten teacher.
All seem to have worked very proficiently and efficiently. But there were still an incredible number of casualties and injuries. Are these open air concerts, festivals just vulnerable to these kinds of attacks?
Yes, and again, the people who ask the question of how do we move forward in terms of security, what are you going to do? Are you going to police every high-rise building that's around a major facility? Are you going to police every person who goes in there and look for someone who's bringing in 10 bags? I think the questions about whether there could have been a tactical response in advance, how do you provide security for a concert like this, people are going to step back and say, you can't. There's a risk in open society, and we see it here. We'll see it in the future.
Wow. Well, thanks as always, Phil, for joining us. Really appreciate all your expertise. Stay tuned. We'll have more on the Las Vegas attack later in the show. But next, we want to take you to Puerto Rico, where people are still awaiting crucial supplies and assistance.
Yep. People are still waiting assistance. But my dad seems to believe everything's working out fine. Because he believes in the Republican system. But we will leave it here. As we will go live from the main channel. Lex, if you're still there, I'm telling you, stay tuned. We're going to watch the Monday Night Football game at Hooters with your woman. You better find out what time Monday Night Football come on. It might come on in 30 minutes. Y'all better donate to her too.